Now, the reason I'm saying these things is that I saw myself to be nothing.
My family is nothing.
My family was nothing.
No, it says greatness be APA out of nothing.
But unbeknown to me, some greatness was springing out from nothing.
One evening, school.
One evening after school, it was at the time when my mothers would cook food for the family.
Around 5:30, baby, call far a foam abefia.
So it was around 5:30 at sunset when those who went out to the farm had returned home and were preparing food for the family.
Baby,
so I was sitting in one corner of the house in my hometown.
And
I was hungry at that time. My expectation and anticipation was high, waiting for food to be ready so I'll be served. In the house, all members of our family were in the house. And I was crying out loudly and saying that, won't anyone come to my rescue? Can't you see this animal wants to kill me? But nobody was paying attention.
And I'm saying, all I
could hear them saying was that they were yelling at me. You, Bempah, won't you sit down? Why are you running? Why? What is your problem? Sit down. You are troublesome. They were hurling insults at me, and I was saying to them that chimpanzee wants to catch me. But they were still yelling at me.
Now, not
knowing I was the only person who was seeing the chimpanzee, every other person in that house could not see it. Now, just about the moment when the chimpanzee was about to pounce on me, I had reached a place where there were palm kernels on the ground. So I stepped on it and it rolled me and I fell to the ground. I fell heavily to the ground. So when I fell down and I screamed out loudly, I couldn't tell where the chimpanzee went to. And so I started to cry. And my grandmother called me. And he said, Akwesi, what is the problem? And I said to her, Grandmom, I said, Grandmom, the chimpanzee was going to catch me. That huge chimpanzee, it was going to pounce on me. And she said, Akwesi, what is wrong with you?
Old lady be a friend of Nana Sikena.
Now there was an old lady called Nana Sikayena.
Na only ye fear you opposite.
Her house was opposite our house.
So Pemasempa.
And this old lady loved me so much.
The men now are butchery.
All her children lived abroad.
Now I
saw that she walked from her compound into her compound and said to me, Akwesi, come with me. Let's go. She held me by the hand and walked with me into her compound. And she gave me food to eat. And she said to me, Akwesi, today you will not sleep in your house. You will sleep in my house with me. She was called Nana Sikayena.
maame fɛfɛɛfɛ bi.
Very pretty looking woman.
Nti that day o maame da ne de.
So that day she made me sleep in her room with her.
Wɔsɛ kɛtɛ wɔ fam ɛna me da so.
She had laid a mat. She had laid a mat on the ground.
Mama na me fie hɔ.
She laid a mat on the ground for me to sleep on, and she was sleeping on the bed, and she did not allow me to sleep in my own house.
Na me sua.
I was very young,
Nana mente ase.
and I did not understand it. I did not understand it then.
Timi ka we ɛna nyame nipa no so ɛka ɔno so die bi.
So when I told the story to the man of God also told me a story.
Ɔno so kyerɛ sɛ ɔsɔre anadwo a sɛbi ɔkɔ akɔgu nsuo.
He said as a young boy he woke up one night and he was going to wee.
Deɛ ohu ya ne sɛ nipa bi te sɛ giant gold ɛda ne kɔn na ne tirinwi ɛyɛ mpɛsɛmpɛsɛ baako pɛ a esi ne tiri so na apuhyia bɛ n'anim a ɔde akɔnfoɔ nsɛbɛni bi abɔ ne sisi na ɔse ɔba no ohun sɛ egya eti firi n'ani na egya eti firi n'ani ɔse no sua nti wɔn deɛ ɔgu nsuo to ɔpɛgya n'ani na ohun adeɛ no ɔse adeɛ no hwɛ ne dii na ɔno so hwɛ adeɛ no dii ɔse wɔ nsuro because ɔsua na onim ade korɔ ɛna adeɛ no twɛ no.
He said when he woke up that night to go and weave, while he was weaving, he saw a very tall creature, very tall like a giant, and he had a golden chain around his neck, and he had very long hair, but it was in one bundle, and it was in front of his head, so it was lying, let's say, on his forehead, and he had talismans around his waist, and this creature was approaching, and there were sparkles of fire in his eyes. And as he approached him, he said he was not afraid because at that time he was young. So he looked up and stared at this creature. This creature stopped by him, looked at him intently, and also stared at him, and after a moment passed by.
And
all of a sudden he said goosebumps.
Between 8 and 9 years.
At that time he said it was around 8 to 9 years.
But
he was not afraid because he did not know what it was. He said the creature was very, should I say long or tall?
Electric pole.
As tall or as long as an electric pole. So he had to lift up his eyes and look up before he could see the face of the creature.
No say a shay edjam, ya cast a shay edja. As a Osumi na a pride. Ama baby I high idea sound. But Osumi need to be bright my baby I high to see oh who are dear no shady year pa or share when and Nancy Shampabwe.
Wow. So he said it was the time of the night when the moon was so bright, and it was so bright that he could see because of the brightness of the moon. So he took a very good look at the creature, looked at the creature from top to bottom, and even paid a particular attention to the footwear the creature was wearing. He said what made him know that that thing was not an ordinary person was that there were sparkles of fire in his eyes. And that is what made him know that this creature is not a human being.
Inside.
So he went back into the room.
And all catch
and then he told his parents or his guardian that when I went outside, I saw a certain man, and this is the look or the description of the man in his hometown. Now his grandparents, when they heard the story, were all quiet. Now in the morning they asked him again, what did you say you saw at night? And now he told them into detail what he saw. Now in the morning, the fetish priest in that town came to their house.
abusuafoɔ no sɛ
and told the family,
sunsum a wɔdi kuro yi so a ɔno kɔm no ayi ne ho adi akyerɛ nkwadaa yi mu bi na yɛ hwan a.
now the fetish priest came to the house and said that the spirit that is the Lord over that town has manifested itself to one of the children in this compound. Which child was it?
Na sɛ saa sunsum so yi ne ho adi kyerɛ wo na wɔtwe pɛpɛpɛ wo.
Now what we know to them, at any time that that spirit reveals itself to anybody in the space of about a week, you will die.
Nti sɛ family ne nyinaa nim sɛ abɔfra no na wɔtwe akyi wobɛfiri asase.
And so the family got to know that within the week that little boy was going to die.
But kɔnfoɔ no kaa sɛ saa abɔfra yi
The fetish priest said that this child,
nyame ɛwɔ dwumadie kɛseɛ bi di ne yɛ.
God has got a great assignment for him.
Na wɔtwitwa mu waa mu.
Now after a week he
Wɔte
didn't
ne
die,
esi nnɛ ɛnyame de ne yɛ adwuma
and from that time till now he's been alive and God is using him mightily.
nea mepɛ sɛ mema wo te aseɛ ne
Now
sɛ
the point I am trying to make
sɛdeɛ wohu ho
is that how you construe and see yourself.
nyame nim biribi ɛso a wode adua wo mu a wonnim.
God knows the greatness he has planted in you which you are not aware of.
ɛna devil nso so nim nea onyame de wo bɛyɛ anaa nhyira nyame wɔde ma wo a wowu nim.
And the devil is also aware what God is about to use you for, or the blessing God has in store for you in your life, but you are not aware.
ɔmbɛfight wo.
And so they will fight you.
ɔmbɛtra so ɔmbɛdistrɛ wo nyankopɔn akyɛdeɛ bi a ɔde bɛpie afiri wo mu a ɛbɛyɛ blessing.
And they will try to destroy the gift that God has bestowed or God has planted in you, which will manifest for the blessing of mankind. But
ɔne ɛbɛdi ako ɛnso ɔmu ntumi yɛ.
though they will wrestle against us, they certainly cannot prevail over us.
onipa tiri ne nneɛma ne ɛdɔɔso ɛnso onyame yi ne firi ne nyinaa.
The afflictions of the righteous are many, but God delivers him from all of them.
yesu yawo no
Jesus was born,
prophecy afɔfeele.
and his birth fulfilled prophecy.
nyame wɔ botae bi ma Christ the
God
anointed
had
one.
a purpose for Christ, the anointed one's life.
na obiara expect sɛ nka yɛbɛwo no ɛwɔ Herod the palace.
Everyone had expectation that he would have been born in the palace of Herod
because wɔyɛ great king.
because he was a great king.
But nkɔba no sa
But that is not what happened.
baabi a nnipa ɛɛspɛte
Now, where men never expected,
baabi a ɛhɔ yɛ nothing,
where men construed to be nothing,
baabi a hɔ nyɛ glorious,
a place which was not glorious,
ɛhɔ nyɛ neat,
that place was not neat,
ɛhɔ nyɛ rich man's house,
that place was not the house of a rich man,
but enwa boom.
but it was the manger.
ɛno na nkyɛn koraa poor village
And even
Bethlehem.
that aside,
ɛwɔ Judah.
that aside, it was a poor village, Bethlehem of Judah.
ɛhɔ na onyame de the great leader appear.